This is United Network News with Sunny Galt, Calen, Kimberly Gogan, and our field messengers from around the world. Here's today's real news.
Cosmetic injectables have become a go-to solution for those looking to enhance their appearance without undergoing surgery. With their growing popularity, it's hard not to wonder if they're truly the best option for achieving natural, youthful results. Are these quick fixes the ultimate answer, or do they come with hidden trade-offs we should consider?
Cosmetic injectables like Botox and dermal fillers are more popular than ever, thanks to advances that make results look more natural and accessible. Lower costs and more options for diverse skin tones have also helped make these treatments mainstream. Social media plays a huge role, too, with skinfluencers such as dermatologists and beauty bloggers normalizing and glamorizing procedures. The market for aesthetic injectables has been growing each year, with clinics, med spas, and beauty bars making them easier to access. It's not just women anymore. Millennials, men, and even Gen Zers are jumping on board. In 2022, 27% of Botox users in the U.S. were under 34, according to the American Academy of Facial Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery. Many chose baby Botox or prejuvenation to delay wrinkles. TikTok has fueled the self-care narrative, with people in their 20s using injectables for big events or routine maintenance. Societal pressures like the link between beauty, success, and social media comparisons continue to drive demand, especially among younger generations.
I've been saying for a really long time that this female obsession with cosmetic procedures shows that we're not in a good place, and finally people are acknowledging something's wrong because women don't really look like human beings anymore, and they're calling it pillow face. Pillow face refers to this new trend where hundreds of thousands of perfectly beautiful, healthy women, in trying to become even more beautiful, even more perfect, are literally disfiguring their faces with filler. And not only does filler never really dissolve, which causes pillow face, it also messes with the lymphatic system, which can cause cancer. So even though filler doesn't improve the way we look, and it's also a risk to our lives, we women can't stop doing it. Because we've bought into the message that we women have an expiration date, and God forbid we show any signs of aging, we become completely irrelevant. So we will do anything to stop that from happening, including disfiguring our faces or risking our lives.
These cosmetic injectables might seem like a quick fix, but they come with real risks. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration warns fillers, often used in areas like the cheeks and lips, can cause severe issues like blocked blood vessels, allergic reactions, stroke, or even blindness. Adverse effects from Botox might be more common than we think. A 2023 UK study found 69% of people experienced lasting problems like pain, anxiety, and headaches. Younger people looking for cheaper options are especially vulnerable, often turning to unlicensed practitioners. In April 2024, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported 22 cases of botulism, a toxin that attacks the body's nerves, in women who received counterfeit Botox from unlicensed individuals in non-medical settings with serious symptoms like muscle paralysis and blurry vision. Similarly, in 2023, 67 botulism cases in the UK were tied to weight loss Botox injections from a hospital in Turkey. Meanwhile, complaints to Australia's health regulator have been piling up, with more than 472 reports since late 2022, leading to bans or restrictions on 14 practitioners.
So here they did an MRI of this person's face, and they had 12 syringes of filler placed into their face. And when they actually extracted out the part of the sequence that showed the filler, you'll see it in green, they found that the volume of that filler was actually doubled. So it was like more than 24 syringes equivalent of volume. And it's a reminder that HA, or hyaluronic acid-based fillers, are hydrophilic. They attract water. And by doing so, they actually expand tissue. So it's something to remember, because oftentimes people are paying for a syringe and they expect that the whole syringe is going to be used. But if you can get a nice improvement with less of that syringe being used, consider that. Because if you are getting syringe after syringe after syringe, eventually you're going to get this expansion of your face and also just an enlargement of the facial structures.
Alternative treatments like microneedling, platelet-rich plasma, laser therapy, ultrasound skin tightening, and radiofrequency are becoming popular and can help improve skin. These procedures may boost collagen, reducing wrinkles and tightening skin without injectables. Maintaining healthy skin can be supported by simple lifestyle changes, whether or not you opt for cosmetic procedures. While these changes may not be as effective as medical treatments for smoothing skin, they can still have a positive impact and benefit your overall health without any side effects. Staying hydrated, exercising regularly, protecting your skin from UVA rays, avoiding smoking, eating a balanced diet, and getting enough sleep are all key habits for minimizing fine lines and wrinkles. Diet also plays a crucial role in skin health, with research highlighting the importance of certain foods and supplements. Nutrients like vitamins A, B, C, D, and E, as well as minerals like zinc and selenium, help maintain youthful skin. Antioxidants such as resveratrol from grapes and flavonoids from green tea, along with turmeric's anti-inflammatory properties, can also provide significant skin benefits.
3 dermatologist-approved ways to reduce fine lines and wrinkles without Botox. Number 1, silicone patches. These prevent your skin from moving so that they don't develop creases over time. Number 2, red light therapy. This particular wavelength stimulates your body to produce more collagen, thereby reducing fine lines and wrinkles. Number 3, topical peptides. Matrixyl 3000 and argyroline will build collagen and reduce the movement of your muscles, respectively. If you just don't like the idea of botulism being injected into your face, try one of these 3 things or all of them to reduce your fine lines and wrinkles without an injection.
Ultimately, choosing whether to try cosmetic injectables or explore alternatives comes down to understanding the risks, your goals, and what works best for you. There's no one-size-fits-all answer, but being informed and prioritizing your health is always the right move. Whatever you decide, don't forget that true beauty starts with confidence and self-care.
Embracing our health and well-being begins with making smart choices, especially when it comes to the products we use. UNN Field Messenger Dorothy shows us how she makes her own natural cosmetics.
This is Field Messenger Dorothy reporting from the mountains of Montana. I want to share with you how I changed my life with natural cosmetics. After having survived a nasty cold and flu season, I developed a sensitivity to artificial fragrances. And when I started to become aware of everything that contains synthetic scents, I was really overwhelmed. So I began the journey to making my home a more holistic environment. Little by little, I have been replacing household cleaners, laundry detergents, toothpaste, and more with organically, minimally processed products where I can breathe easier and not have to worry about the after effects of chemical reactions in my body. But living in the mountains where weather can be harsh and the humidity can be downright crunchy, I decided to look into making my own cosmetics. What I found is that everything I was putting on my skin was drenched in a long list of chemical crap that could cause a lot of ailments, including cancer. So I began to experiment. First, I researched what my skin needed to be vibrant and healthy, and then began to assemble the ingredients. I chose organic shea butter, organic jojoba oil, organic vitamin E, some organic castor oil, and a couple of essential oils. I softened 2.2 ounces of shea butter and placed it in a glass bowl. Next, I used an electric mixer to make it pliable, then added 2.2 ounces of the jojoba oil, 2 teaspoons of vitamin E, and 2 tablespoons of castor oil. Next, I added some of my favorite essential oil blends and whipped everything together for about 15 minutes. And this is the face and body butter I came up with. It's super concentrated and rehydrating, and my face and body feel soft and protected all day long. Just remember that with this moisturizer, a little goes a long way. Here's the recipe so you can make yours too. I'm Field Messenger Dorothy, reporting for United Network News.
If you're expecting a baby or planning for the future, you've probably heard about banking cord blood. But is it really necessary? While these options represent exciting medical advancements, they're not without limitations and costs. It's important to understand whether the potential benefits justify the expense and effort for your family.
Cord blood is the blood left in your baby's umbilical cord after birth, and it's full of stem cells that can potentially treat a variety of health conditions, including blood cancers like leukemia, immune system disorders, metabolic issues, and certain genetic diseases. When it comes to cord blood banking, there are public and private options. Public banks collect donations and make the blood available to anyone in need, often for stem cell transplants. The perk? It's free to donate. The downside? If your family ever needs it, you won't have access to your baby's cord blood. Private banks, however, store your baby's cord blood just for your family, meaning you're guaranteed access in the future. The catch? It can get pricey, with initial fees and yearly storage costs, sometimes resulting in thousands of dollars.
If you're planning on having a baby, should you bank the blood from its umbilical cord? There are lots of companies providing this service, claiming that stem cells found in umbilical cord blood could be used for transplants to save your child from genetic diseases or even cancer. So, is it worth it? Well, in most cases, probably not, and here's why. Firstly, if your newborn baby does have a disease, then its own cells can't be used to cure that disease because they'll have the same DNA, and so they'll suffer from the same problems. There are special situations where it could be useful, like using the cells to help a brother or sister, but this thankfully isn't needed in the case of most newborns. The other problem is that the banking process collects about 100 millilitres of blood from the umbilical cord, and a newborn baby only has about 300 millilitres of blood, so leaving that cord blood where it is seems to improve babies' health outcomes, and perhaps the best place to bank it is inside your new kid.
If you do decide to bank your baby's cord blood, working with a reputable cord blood banking company is crucial because they'll prioritize safety and transparency, ensuring your baby's cord blood is properly collected, processed, and stored. A trustworthy company will also inform you if any contamination is found in your sample, giving you peace of mind you're not risking your child's health or missing out on important medical opportunities down the line. An investigative reporter with the New York Times recently discovered some of the common ways parents are often misled by cord blood banks.
It's really rare for these cells to be used, but it's still a pretty big industry of storing them, sometimes indefinitely. There's a decent number of samples in storage. We think it's about 2 million. A lot of that probably comes down to the marketing to patients and to doctors, which really focuses on this being a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Even when parents do try and use these samples, we found that they're often unable to, either because there's not enough stem cells in the sample or it's contaminated. One researcher we talked to who does a lot of clinical trials with cord blood, she estimated that more than half of the patients who try and withdraw their samples are ultimately just not able to use them. The majority of banks we looked at, they do test for bacteria within days of receiving the sample. But in our investigation, we found that they weren't telling parents the results. So some, even stored for over a decade without realizing that there had been bacteria all along.
If contamination is an issue, can we eliminate the banking process and just use our own stem cells, even as an adult? Yes, well, sort of. As we grow from babies to adults, our stem cells change in terms of their flexibility and how many we have. Babies, especially newborns, have a lot of powerful stem cells, like those in the umbilical cord, which are super versatile and can turn into many types of cells. These cells help with fast healing and tissue regeneration. But as we get older, the stem cells in our body become more specialized and less abundant. In adults, stem cells are mostly found in specific tissues, like bone marrow or fat, and they can only develop into certain types of cells, which makes them less versatile. This is one reason why healing can slow down as we age.
It's important to know that cord blood is a source of stem cells, but it's not the only source. Stem cells are also found in our bone marrow and our blood. So, for example, if I have a patient that develops a leukemia, their own stem cells would not be used as a treatment for their leukemia. In fact, you would need a donor's stem cells, which is why we have public cord blood banks and blood banks to try to find a match for a donor. But if it is, say, a lymphoma or some other disease that could be treated through an autologous bone marrow transplant, then you could use their cord blood cells, but you could also use stem cells from the patient's own blood and or bone marrow. Now, yes, cord blood would be less invasive, but unfortunately, cord blood is often contaminated during the collection process because it's coming out of a delivery room, which is not the most sterile environment, and or sometimes you end up with not enough volume in the cord blood of stem cells, and you have to augment what you've collected with stem cells from the patient's own blood and or bone marrow anyway. Important to consider.
There's no doubt private cord blood banking offers a unique opportunity to preserve your baby's stem cells for potential future use, especially if you're like me and there's a family history of certain health conditions. However, the cost can be quite high, and the long-term storage fees add up over time. In the end, whether private cord blood banking is the right choice really depends on what feels best for you, your family's health history, and how much you're comfortable investing in something that may or may not be needed down the road.
At the Tambourine Superfood Farm in Scenic Rim, Queensland, people can explore everything from medicinal teas and fresh honey to unique recipes. UNN Field Messenger Keza M shares her experience at the farm.
G'day, it's Keza M here. I'm at the Tambourine Superfoods Farm at the Scenic Rim, Southeast Queensland, Australia. And I'm a field messenger for United Network News. I'm actually trying to inspire people to cook food that they've never had before, or maybe food that they would consider cooking at home. And so I will be, anybody who wants recipes and things like that, this is going to be interactive. If you've got a question you want to answer, just ask it. So Dave got up and gave a talk on DSMO. I had a personal experience with DSMO where many years ago I was very challenged walking. I had sciatica in both hips, and then I ran across Dave. Dave showed me all you had to do was get a glass of water and put 1 drop of DSMO in it and drink that. Every glass of water you have, put 1 drop in. The next day, put 2 drops in. The next day, put 3 drops in. Within 3 weeks, I had no sciatica in either hip and I could walk normally, which was incredible for me. That was 3 years ago and I can still walk normally. We had a tea tasting where we had 7 different teas. We broke the group into groups of 6 and gave them trivia questions and a score sheet so they could tell us what teas they liked the best. Moringa, cat's whiskers and lemon myrtle were 3 different teas. They really liked the moringa. The cat's whiskers, they told me that it tasted like cat's pee and was not very impressed at all. We also did honey tasting. We had all sorts of honeys, honey and turmeric, honey with propolis, aged honey, spring honey, and honey comb. All the honeys were taken from the property, were all beautiful fresh, and we used them to sweeten our teas. I had made a frizzy drink prior to the event, and it was dead easy. The only thing is I was calling it the wrong name. It's not spruce pop, it's cypress pop. We use a bald or a white cypress leaf, put it in a bucket. Each litre of water you add a spoon of honey, a tablespoon. You leave it in that bucket for 3 days, and in 3 days' time you strain all the spruce leaves off, put it in bottles with another teaspoon of honey, leave it for 3 days, and it goes fizzy, and you end up with a cypress honey pop, which is absolutely delicious, and everybody on the day just raved about it. Then we move straight into our chocolate tasting. Yes, there were chocolate holics in our midst, me being the biggest one, I think. This chocolate is a game changer for anyone who can consume a whole block of chocolate in one sitting. It was such a beautiful day. We all went for a walk around the herbal tea garden and down the back to have a look at the honeybee long hives. Then out the other side into the paddock, tasting cranberry hibiscus and moringa. To finish the day, we went into the honey harvesting room where we uncapped honey. We tried the honey that was in there, and we also gave a prize of a jar of honey to the person who chose the lucky number. On all, the day was a huge success by the look of the smiley faces and the compliments that were given out most of the day. I think everybody had a fantastic time. I certainly did. Thanks for watching.
Have you ever noticed calorie labels on menus and wondered if they actually make a difference? The idea is simple. Help people make healthier choices by giving them the information up front. Some people swear by them, while others barely give them a second glance. So do they really work?
This question became even more relevant when, in 2022, big cafes, restaurants, and fast food chains in England were required to include calorie counts on their menus. The move is part of a broader effort to combat obesity, which impacts 26.2% of adults. Frequent dining out has been linked to obesity, which can lead to serious health issues like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and even some cancers. The goal is to help customers make healthier choices by showing how many calories are in their meals. Following this policy, researchers found out it didn't work quite as hoped. Despite calorie labels on menus, the amount people bought and ate stayed about the same. A study from the University of Liverpool showed little change in calorie intake across different groups, no matter their age, gender, ethnicity, or education level. It seems labels alone aren't enough to shift eating habits. In the U.S., calorie labeling has been in place since May 2018, and it turns out it had some small positive results. A 2021 study published in the Public Library of Science examined meal purchases in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas before and after labeling started and found the average meal had 73 fewer calories, a 4.7% drop.
Already at you're done. I see the calories on some meals. I'm like, holy moly, 2,000?
Yeah.
If you're gonna go, like you said, you've taught me some things. If you're gonna go like that, eat a meal that's gonna be that heavy, try to fast or eat something like just pure protein only, and make that just one meal. Either split it in two or just that one OMAD. That's it. But if you're having your regular meal and then you go eat something like that,
yeah, because I do love that restaurants put the calories for their meals on the menu, because it's eye-opening and it makes you make better decisions, because you're like, that's not worth 2,000 calories. Mm-hmm. That's not worth it.
Mainly carbs and fat, hardly any protein. You look at the breakdown, you're like, no.
And I love that because most people don't realize how many calories things are.
An interesting finding from a 2021 study in the Journal of the American Medical Association is that restaurants and coffee shops started cutting calories when adding new menu items. On average, the new dishes introduced after the regulation had 25% fewer calories. That's about 100 fewer calories per item. At fast food chains, the drop was even bigger, with around 180 fewer calories per item. Supermarkets also began adding calorie labels to prepared foods back in 2018, and it led to some interesting changes. According to another study, most items like entrees and deli meats didn't see much of a calorie drop, but new bakery items had about 440 fewer calories each, though they were smaller, and it's unclear if people just bought more. What's even more interesting is that current labeling rules allow for a margin of error when it comes to calorie counts. Things like different ingredients, how food is prepared, or even serving sizes can throw off the numbers. This means you could be eating more calories than you think, which can make it harder to stick to a balanced diet or hit your health goals.
Food label calorie counts can be wrong. They don't have to be accurate by law. Shocking, right? In fact, food labels are allowed a 20% margin of error on their calorie counts. That's a huge margin of error. Imagine thinking that you're consuming 2,000 calories, but you're actually closer to 2,400. It sounds small, but in just 1 week, that accumulates to nearly 1 pound of body fat gained. So if you've been diligently counting your calories, and you've been logging every meal, and you're convinced that you're doing everything perfectly, but the scale refuses to budge, it may genuinely not be your fault at all.
We're often taught that a calorie is a calorie, implying it doesn't matter if you eat 100 calories of candy or broccoli, as they'll have the same effect on your weight and health. Sure, a calorie technically has the same amount of energy, which is 4,184 joules, but your body doesn't treat all calories equally. Different foods are processed in different ways, and some can cause energy to be lost as heat. More importantly, the foods you eat affect your hormones and brain, which control hunger and how much you eat. What you eat matters just as much, if not more, than how many calories you consume.
All calories are not equal in the way that our body responds to them. Calories are not a good way of actually quantifying what we eat, because the same person can have identical calories and have a very different metabolic response to them. One person, it can make them more hungry, the other person more full, and therefore it will change their habits. So we need to move away from using calories as the main indicator of food and move towards food quality as the big target we're aiming for.
Do menu calorie labels really make a difference? They might help a little, but they're not a magic fix for healthier eating. At the end of the day, focusing on the quality of your food and listening to your body is just as important as the numbers on a menu.
Marinara sauce is a staple of Italian cuisine, loved for its rich flavors and fragrant herbs. UNN Field Messenger Amy shares a traditional recipe and a secret ingredient that makes this classic even better.
Hi, Field Messenger Amy, reporting for UNN from Mount Tabor, New Jersey. And today, you see, I have my Julia Child pearls on, so we're going to be cooking it up in the kitchen.
Hi, I'm Patty. I am an Italian great-grandmother of 4, and I love to cook. So today I shared my recipe for marinara sauce with Amy. And I think that she will share the secret ingredient that I told her to make the sauce excellent.
So these are the ingredients that you're going to need. Crushed tomatoes, and I'll also show you how to do it with fresh tomatoes. Olive oil for extra virgin, parsley, basil. Fresh basil is best, but if all you have is dry, that's fine. Italian seasonings, and in the Italian seasonings, we have oregano, marjoram, thyme, basil, and parsley flakes. But you can always add more of any individual. For instance, the oregano. You need garlic, black pepper, salt, And Patty likes to add a couple of slices of onion. So the first thing you have to keep in mind when you're making this sauce with this Italian woman's recipe is that Italian women cook from the heart. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to need a stainless steel pan. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put some extra virgin olive oil in here. And Patty says she likes to throw in a couple of onion slices, so we have those. The next thing you're going to add is crushed garlic. And the best way to crush garlic is using your knife and then pressing down on it. It causes it to peel really easily. So that was a good way of peeling it. So with the onions, I needed to cut them smaller. So you just want to just go over it and over it and over it until you have it really small. Patty's recipe calls for 2 cans or a couple of cans. I'm going to use 3 because that's what I had in the pantry and I want to use it up. And then we're going to add our seasoning. Patty calls for a handful of salt. Patty has little hands. I'm just going to start with a little bit. I can always add more. I'm not a big salt person. Pepper. We have black pepper. Parsley is always good. Actually, it just kind of adds color. I don't feel it has much flavor. Italian seasoning. Patty couldn't stress enough how much, a lot of Italian seasoning. So I would say that's about 1/4 cup. And Patty's secret ingredient to take the bitterness out with the tomatoes is to cook it with a carrot. A carrot will add some sweetness. You can also add a little sugar in the end if it's a little too bitter. But that's her secret ingredient, is to cook with a carrot. And then when it's done, you just toss the carrot or put it out for the animals. So we're just going to let this simmer on low for a couple of hours, just stirring it occasionally. And we'll see what we end up with. So let's see how it tastes. But for the final touches, some Parmesan cheese. Patty loves to finish it off with some Parmesan cheese. So there you go, homemade marinara sauce. I hope you enjoy it. And there you have it. We have a bowl of our homemade pasta and our homemade marinara sauce all ready to go. Bon appetit.
Now it's your turn. Join our weekly meetings and become a field messenger. More information is available at our website, unitednetwork.earth. We're UNN and we're taking back the news.